Remember, it's only the power of goodness that can defeat the goblins.
You know, I think it's one of those things where, you know, it's kind of like a social epidemic. It takes time, and I think more than anything, it's a lot of heart. There's a lot of heart and spirit that gets involved in these types of things, whether it's a movie, whether it's a band, whatever. Any sort of social phenomenon, it all starts with heart and passion and people saying, we love this. And there's been fans from the very beginning of this, or people that have seen this movie and they've said, we love this, we want to champion this as the worst movie ever made. And then it just became lots of elements lining up. You know, people making their own YouTube videos. You know, people making their own songs. Everybody kind of expressing their genuine heart and soul around this movie in different ways. And I think that's what happens. I mean, it's a phenomenon. A phenomenon. The definition of a phenomenon is something that can't be explained through one unique, you know, incident. It's a whole multitude of factors kind of coming together in this perfect maelstrom of, you know.
Like in the internet, cheap DVDs.
Exactly. You know, and there's a lot of things like MGM. When MGM, they played it a lot in the early, you know, 90s on cable. And then MGM just so happened to acquire the Troll 2 and re-released a DVD, Troll and Troll 1. Yeah, Troll 1 and Troll 2. And that was a big thing because all of a sudden kids who had seen it when they were younger see the DVD in the bargain bin at the gas station or at Walmart, and it's $1, $2, and they say, oh, I remember this movie, and then they watch it, and it's that, again, there's a lot of things, you know, there's that, there's all sorts of pop cultural references that have come up from the movie, so it's just a whole bunch of different factors.
Yeah, that's a good. I think that's a good question you asked, and I think with my feeling when Michael used the word heart, and I think I think today a lot of movies are such high budget. They've become so spectacular that your feelings are desensitized to it with all the computer graphics, and it almost numbs you when you're watching a movie, and you don't get the true grit of the way it was filmed or what have you. And so I think when something that's really bad, it's so bad it's good, that type of thing, the best worst movie, which Michael coined for Troll 2, it's just highly entertaining, and that's what's happened with this whole thing. People want entertainment.
And the biggest thing, I mean, the biggest factor with it is that this wasn't intentional. You know, it wasn't like Claudio said, hey, I'm going to go out and make a really good bad film. It's everybody trying, again, it's that heart element. Everybody trying to do their best, and then it just failing, and all of a sudden a completely different result. The end result is something totally unattended.
They're eating her. And then they're going to eat me. Oh my God!
Does this movie like a real piece of art?
You know, that's a good question, and we actually examined that in the documentary, and I think of it a lot differently now than I did years ago. And who's to say what's bad and what's good? Bad's a relative term. Who's to say what's art and what's trash? And I think that there's that argument can be made.
Yeah, because I'm from France, and definitely this kind of movie can be considered as a piece of art. Never. It can be something curious, like complete curiosity, but it would never be a piece of art. It's here in America and Canada. Are you feeling that all these people here tonight, the fans, do you think it's they consider it like art, or they just, you know?
I think you have a lot of different types of fans, yeah, you know, and I think that there are people, we've run into people that will say, that have told us that you cannot tell me that this is a bad movie. This is a good movie, and this is why. And I think that it's interesting to kind of think about what bad is. You know, how is 300 people in a theater laughing and having the best time of their life a bad thing? You know, and I think whenever you're creating something like art, you start off in one direction and you end up with your result, and it's usually different than what you imagined. And with Claudio, I think he went into this was his movie. He was going to make it. To him, it was art. And now, years later, I think that there are people that certainly appreciate it as accidental, like a masterpiece for bad movies. I mean, it's interesting because, best worst movie, there's a lot of worse movies out there, hands down. Movies you can't get through, but for some reason this still maintains, as bad as it is, it still maintains its eminent watchability. People just, watch it, and it sticks with you. How's that a bad thing, I guess?
Because I was thinking that the director back in Italy, he doesn't really get what's going on here in America. People really appreciate it, or maybe.
Yeah, and Claudio, he sees this as finally his work of art's being appreciated. He's very much like that, and he's a guy. He's a good guy. He's the Italian artiste. That's his type of person. And I like many of the other people that I've gotten to know through this production. I think he's a great guy. I mean, there's some very respectable qualities about him.
So when do you guys become friends?
When are you gonna throw a Troll 2 party?
Oh yeah.
That's the biggest thing about this whole thing is we don't organize these screenings. We don't say, okay, where are we gonna go next? Fans contact us and they say, this is why you need to come. This is what we're doing, and we say, cool, let's do it. Every one of these screenings is created by a fan or somebody with heart, again, around this movie, and that's why we do it. So if France, can make us some green cake and give us some corn on the cob with frosting and some punch and show us some true hospitality, who knows?
Oh yeah, true French hospitality.
Yeah.
Typical country hospitality. Let's dig in.
Was the pepperoni sandwich good?
It was terrible.
Oh yeah. Tell us
terrible.
about
The bologna sandwich. I'll tell you, I have a very distinct memory of the bologna sandwich because I remember unwrapping it, and it was two top halves of bun. There wasn't a bottom half and a top half. It was two top halves, and I remember. It was so old. It was like, when you haven't eaten bread for a long time and you got the last couple pieces in there, that's what it was like. And I remember grabbing it and it literally like little pieces of it like disintegrating, like dusty, and biting into it and like my mouth like full of bread dust with bologna. And there were, I don't know, 3 or 4 packs of bologna on this thing. Yeah, a lot. And I remember just being like, this is gross. It's very nasty.
A double-decker bologna sandwich!
Don't do it! Sucks your blood! Think about the cholesterol! Think about the doctor!